Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Positive Minds. Yeah. And your eyes do not deceive you. I am Mind Runner. We are the doctors of feel good. But filling in as the residency here is a feel good specialist herself. Yes, Chris is on assignment, but instead we have she puts the JK and JK Rowling. She is Stephanie from King Ari Press. Steph, how you doing?
I'm not J.K. Rowling.
No, she puts the J.K. and J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for clarity's sake, yeah, not even close to the same. Hello, glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Thank you so much for filling in, for jumping in here. Your family, so we really excited to have you here, everybody. And this is going to be an awesome time. We got a lot of positive vibes to send out there, a lot of positive messages. And again, we like to have fun, but also we do take this seriously. We want to put a foot in your Zen garden and really put a smile on your face and get going on all kinds of stuff. And the biggest thing is we want to make sure that we spread as much positive news out there, that the mainstream media and independent news outlets, they want to talk politics. They want to get froggy. They want to get all the likes and they want to get all the attention on them with the negative news. So we want to spread as much positive news. And I don't know, just really quickly, just because we have to, it's almost like obligation in our culture. Did you watch the Super Bowl, Stephanie?
Yes. I mean, it was on.
Sports.
And I looked up sometimes.
Yes. I Now, my goddess wife, Full Tilt Deb, as many of you know, is a huge sports fan. So she had it on. She was enjoying the whole thing. Me, I was instead in here messing around with video editing equipment. But I also kind of kept an ear, and she did bring me in to watch the halftime show. Did you catch that?
Yes. Again, like I was paying attention. And I was also distracted, but it was Usher, and it was really good. Like, because I haven't seen Usher around for a while, and I think he's coming out with his new album. I didn't hear when it drops. It drops soon, though. I feel like this week or
it's TBD. We'll keep an eye out for it. Definitely, Usher definitely was a part of my younger days, as well as one of my favorite Usher songs with Lil Jon and Ludacris, the song, just that popped me.
I think everybody got excited about that, to be honest.
Like, yeah.
How could you not? I mean, honestly,
we need to get Lil Jon to hype up Positive Minds. Positive Minds, okay.
Yeah, for sure. If we could get him to just, bring some sponsors our way, that would be awesome too. I bet he's got some inroads.
Yeah. We actually do have some sponsors as well. Ooh. We have some sponsors coming up that we may hear from today. But awesome. I do want to start off with some of our positive news, and I want to talk. Let's go kick it off with some positive news here.
Can I say one more thing about Usher though?
Yeah.
Were you blown away his roller skating?
Yes.
I mean, I love roller skating, and oh my gosh, I nerded out at that moment. Like, that almost could have missed everything else. Usher, props, man. Usher. That was awesome.
You know what? I also, by the way, shout out to Benjamin, Mr.
Hello,
Super
Ben.
Positive. He's awesome. He's also the head of our marketing department around here. So good guy there. He's got one of the best. His client, his number one client is an old English bulldog named Duke. You may have heard of him. Do you remember? What was the bull terrier that was the Budweiser mascot years ago?
Spuds McKenzie.
Spuds McKenzie. Thank you. See, I names and stuff, but like, I think that Duke is surpassing Spuds McKenzie and the Taco Bell Chihuahua as the number one multiple mascot for all kinds of products. Who knows? Maybe Amber Champagne will develop. I hear Amber Champagne is developing a special skincare line for dogs, just so that Duke the Bulldog can actually promote her products. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so let's spread some positive news out there. Let's get that out there. It is time for you can spread all the news you want, but who wants bad news? Nobody wants bad news. Bad news for what?
Pass the vibe and everybody smile. Bad news for what? Bad news for what? Bad news for what? What? Bad news for what? Bad news for what?
All right. Apparently, Little John is helping us out with today's show a little bit. But I wanted to talk about, we've got some really cool, positive news stories. And I got to ask you, Steph, do you work out?
Yeah, actually, every morning I have a routine. I do it at home. It's the kind of one of the ways I start my day. I have like a routine. It's part of my routine.
And as far as your routine, do you do a lot of cardio? Do you do a lot of like walking, jogging, Stairmaster?
Oh, I mix it up. I mean, I actually do weights and, leg day, arms, all of that. And then I do
Good.
cardio. I love dancing. And then usually if the weather's good, we do a long hike on Fridays. And that's awesome because we have some really nice hikes around us.
Well, that's really cool. And good for you for getting out there into nature, the dancing part. You got to do what you love. Find the exercise that you love. But I've got good news for some of us that really struggle with long walks or Stairmasters, and we see that kind of exercise as painful because a recent study has shown that, did you know that Tai Chi is the slow moving art of Tai Chi is more effective than aerobic exercise for reducing high blood pressure? This is a new study. That new study found that ancient Chinese martial art of Tai Chi is more effective in reducing high blood pressure than other forms of exercise, such as brisk walking or stair climbing. Have you ever practiced Tai Chi before?
No, I have friends that have done it. It honestly makes sense because of like the movement would probably do that because the other ones are actually meant to increase blood pressure momentarily. And so you would think that would make more sense that it would overall. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's got to be a calming. So yeah, it's kind of that. I wonder if it's similar to yoga, except not as, you're not twisting yourself into a pretzel, but you're kind of doing that air Play-Doh where you're just kind of like.
And aren't they like based on like animals too? Like there's movements that are like, you can, I don't know, like the cobra, or I don't know what they're called actually.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry to anybody who does it and knows. I just don't know. Please tell me. Like,
the kangaroo,
Yeah. Tell me your animal, your Tai Chi animal. I would love to know.
The house cat.
Oh, the house cat one would be fun. There's some like really wild cat moves out there.
What would be some cool animal Tai Chis you could get?
That's what I was trying to think. You brought up
the
the cat, the lizard. You know when those lizards like they do the little push-ups? Like super cute.
See, we might be onto something here. We might need to market this, the animal workout program. Sign up, we'll give you the first minute free. Then you got to sign up to our Patreon. You got to do the giraffe. There's all kinds of cool stuff here.
What's that?
There's all kinds of cool ways we could go with this.
I mean, I was gonna say kangaroo, but they're kind of like more like boxers. Like they're a little aggressive for Tai Chi. That's for sure.
Check it out. You hop, shadow box, hop, 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 shadow box, hop, 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 shadow box.
Maybe not quite the Tai Chi move, but definitely a workout.
Sure. That would definitely get you the workout. That definitely would be. So there you go. Look into it, everybody. Tai Chi. If you want to lose some weight or you want to get healthier, lower your blood pressure, consider, instead of get a fancy gym membership or going on a painful walk. Maybe it's painful for you. You just don't want to go out there in the rain. Why don't you just sit in your house and do a little of this? Do the way of the rabbit or chinchilla. This is a heart. Now, keeping in term, because we have a special holiday coming up, I think on Wednesday, for some people. Some people like it. Some people can't stand Valentine's Day. Are you a Valentine's Day fan? Do you celebrate Valentine's Day?
I mean, I think we don't make the overall focus of it. Like I at this stage, we've been married for a while. We're more intentional about like we'll do something at home or
Mm-hmm.
kind of more low key. But we don't have to prove anything to each other. So there's just not that same motivation. But so it's more like we'll pick our favorite rom-com and maybe watch that. And then I always love coming up with like fun dinners.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to cook. I'm not the best at it, but I've been learning to be better. And so like last year, I think I made cacio de pepe and these little, I took strawberries and turned them into little hearts and dipped them in chocolate. And it was so fun. I love doing stuff like that. So to do it at home is, I think, a little more special for both of us. And then actually it was his rom-com movie choice, which was the black and white, it's the one that Sleepless in Seattle was based off of.
Oh, not entirely sure. Sleepless in.
Well, no, it wasn't.
It's in Chicago.
Like, it has Cary Grant in it.
I'm not familiar, but
yeah.
But it was the one
black
it was
and
based
white.
on.
It's like one of his favorites. So we watched that
cool.
one last year.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds very, very, very romantic. You know, Deb and I have become really great at cooking. We're really good at ordering DoorDash. You know, we've actually been able to order some great meals, some very unique meals at DoorDash. And but yeah, there is something that like when you feel comfortable. This is going to lead to a rabbit hole segment that we're going to talk about, but we can definitely touch on it. Like when you find somebody that's your person, you find that person that's like you're for them, they're for you. I mean, it's not like necessarily where we go, you know, hey, your gift is having me in your life. That's your gift. You know, you get to that point though where it's still good to not take each other for granted, to still remind each other why they're valued. But yeah, good. Valentine's Day it's a mixed bag for people because long-term relationships, there's a point where it's like, it's much more. It's like, hey, a valued partner. I love you. You know, I always like to say I love Deb more today than yesterday because, like, even though the puppy love stuff is gone, is not as it's still there, but it's not as blah blah blah. It's so much deeper, and I love that. And I like to do cool stuff for her. She does really cool stuff for me. So, it's kind of cool. There was they put out a poll though. And they being, I'm not entirely sure the source just yet, but the Good News Network said there was a poll put out. Oh, that's right, sponsored by Haichu. We might have to reach out to Ben to get some Haichu candy sponsorship. I thought that was kind of interesting that Haichu, maybe they can send us some Haichus. But sponsored by Haichu, a survey of 2,000 single millennials and those from Gen Z currently seeking partners sought to uncover the anatomy of the perfect Valentine's date. So let's see if this matches up with our plans. Valentine's Day may be the sweetest day of the year, but because almost 3 in 5, 58%, thank you for doing the math, dating Americans say dessert is the number one highlight of the date. So there you go. There's your chocolate-covered strawberries right there. And ideally, according to 4 in 10, Valentine's Day should begin with flowers or a gift. 33% want to be picked up from their home by their date. The date, they're not together just yet. The date should then continue going out to dinner, to a movie, and end with some kind of togetherness, whether alone time with their date or a good night kiss. This was conducted by one poll on behalf of Haichu. And of those respondents, 63% plan to step out, while 23% stay home. So are flowers important?
Yeah, I mean, in life, for sure. There's a thing that both of us kind of love living flowers and living plants. So like cutting them is a little more sad to us. And so we're both very like garden centric, and we grow a lot of flowers. And I think because we're in California, we do get a little more seasonally available flowers through the years. So it's not so important that we need to receive flowers, although we do, but it's less about that, to be honest. Like I would love a plant. especially if you gave me a plant that produced limes or lemons, oh my goodness, like that would get me like super excited. And the first thing I do is like, where am I going to put it? Like, how do I take care of it? So there's again, like the progression of like, if you've been married for a while or you've been in a long-term relationship, it does kind of, the value changes, I think. And so I'm a little more practical than I used to be.
No, that's cool. In fact, I was thinking too, like what plant would really excite me? And immediately my mind went to Venus flytrap. I think
Really?
I'm fascinated by those. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, it eats the fly? What?
Deb's watching this, right? Because she needs to know this.
She's already on venusflytrap.com. Well, don't Google Venus flytrap. You might get a different sponsorship. But yeah, that's, and then I was thinking about like, a good cactus. I actually had a stick of bamboo once that I got, and I tried to water it, like it died on me. I think it caught some kind of mold or something on it, but bamboo's pretty cool. But isn't that interesting too? In fact, we'll jump out of the news and we'll go right to our rabbit hole topic today, because our rabbit hole topic is about relationships and finding your soulmate. But I do think it's fascinating, like because a lot of times, like you'll see penguins in the wild, like penguins will actually give a rock to their intended, and it's kind of cute that they do that, but like the symbolism behind it and that the courtship and stuff, and it's interesting how it goes from flowers and candy to, candy is still a hit in this house, but flowers and stuff. So let's dive down the rabbit hole, and let's talk about relationships and finding your person. All right, we have gone down the rabbit hole, and now we are talking about relationships again in lieu of Valentine's Day coming right around the corner. And Steph, you and I both, I mean, we've talked offline a lot before. We're friends, and we've talked about, we both seem like very happy people, very happy, and we've found our other half, our other piece of the puzzle. Tell us a little bit about that. Do you feel like you found your person?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had help, and there's a faith element to it, and I won't go into the whole history, but it's interesting how prior to, even before we met, like prior to meeting, the dating thing, like I was pretty young, but like the dating thing was kind of just weird, and having your heart broken sucks, and then you don't really know what's gonna, what's on the other side of that, especially when you're in that moment. And so to be honest, and I think this was true for me and maybe for other people, you're just looking for somebody that's going to think you're pretty cool, and somebody that you think is pretty cool. Like, I think that's like your main goal is somebody, you're looking for a friend. And I think that was maybe even the difference of a lot of the relationships and I didn't have many, but the difference between heartbreak to now is that I found not just, my spouse, but also my friend. And it's a friend that stays my friend. And so like when you value anyone as a friend, you're intentional towards it. And you look at that person as somebody that like it kind of is in partnership with you too.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about, just having somebody in your life. It's more pervasive, I think, like where you can do a lot of things together and you can support each other in unique goals, whatever. But that was different than before. And going through the heartbreak, I understand it. You really there's something about, you don't want to be lonely, or you don't, you just want somebody to think you're kind of cool, and people you think are cool, you want them to think you're cool, and you get past it once you start seeing the value of somebody and what the relationship can be. For sure.
Absolutely. You touched on a couple really key points too. did you did you guys friends first, or did you guys did that develop, or was it romantic right away?
Actually, actually, no. And I probably won't go into all of the reasons why, because it'll make me sound like a loony bin that I lived in or something. But like, I wasn't dating at the time, and it was intentionally not dating.
Okay.
And I remember even just before, there was a guy who was flirting with me, and I told him I'm sorry, I'm not interested in dating. I'm just working on myself, and there's a faith element to it. That's the part I'm not going really into, but
Okay.
I remember him singing me a song, and he played piano beautifully. He had a great voice, and we're in one of the piano rooms at school, and he's like singing to me, and I kept thinking, how many girls did he sing to?
Yeah,
Like,
what a stalker. Who does this guy think he is? This little...
I mean, he was it was just clear that no, he did not write the song for me. No, it's just, it's not as romantic as it seems. He's just, not that he was playing me, but I was keen on that. And
I wrote a song just for you. Your eyes, I like the heat.
I mean, it was like, yeah, I wrote it yesterday. Like, no, I mean, come on.
I found it, on LimeWire.
But at that time, nobody. So there wasn't, like, I wasn't looking, and that actually helped because I was really trying to focus on me. I had come out of heartbreak like a year before. But my husband and I became friends, and he had a broken leg. So a lot of people wouldn't ask him to go do things because they just assumed, well, he has a broken leg, he can't go play that sport or whatever. So
we
a lot of time was left back
with us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's on campus, and then we would just talk and like hang out. And then eventually that friendship kind of progressed, and he just asked me. And for some reason I was like, yeah, it's time. And I don't know why.
Isn't that something? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm a very skeptic, very critical thinker. I'm very, but I'm also idealistic. And, there's so many things that have happened in my life specifically and with Deb that are just way too perfect for to be just coincidence. Like there's a little bit of a divine element to it. It's almost interesting that he broke his leg in order for you guys to really get to know each other. It's almost
I tried to hook him up with my friend.
Hey,
she liked him, and I was like, oh, that's another story. And he, even to this day, he's like, I can't believe you hooked me up with my friend. I was like trying to hang out with you.
This has got all the hallmarks of a Hallmark Channel movie.
Right.
What do we call it? Like breaking your leg for love. Go break a leg for love or something.
Breaking bad leg for love.
Yeah. Gimping your way to romance or something. I don't know. We got to keep we said it right here though, so we've got the rights to the story. We're not going to.
There you go.
Very cool. But there is something to about getting to know the person rather than just the infatuation. And the infatuation's fun. It's cool. It's like every song sounds like a perfect love song, and the flowers and the puppy dogs and the romance and the heated passion. But then there's also, like, when you find a friend, it's like there's value, because when all that stuff fades off and when the hard times hit, you have value in that relationship. This is my person, like, and that without them, it's like you touched on too, because there's a lot of times I think people, they don't want to be alone. They don't want to be by themselves, because loneliness stinks. It can be kind of cool sometimes when no one's bothering you, and you're like, I can be home myself. I can sit around in my underwear, eat pizza. But the flip side is having somebody in your life. But I think some of the mistakes some people make in relationships is, one, they're not happy with them, so they're looking for somebody to fix them, or they're looking for somebody like, it almost becomes a codependent thing, or they're looking for somebody that doesn't exist. Like they have these absolutes, or they're looking for somebody that is a perfect version of what they're looking for, and not just looking for somebody and allowing them to be who they are. The flip side is a lot of people aren't really happy with themselves. You almost got to be comfortable with yourself. It's kind of interesting that you said that you weren't looking for anybody.
Right.
Like,
and I needed that.
you had to be almost in that
Yeah.
mindset in order to find somebody like, yes, and here's your guy, here's your soulmate.
Yeah, because otherwise I think,
Yeah.
then somebody being interested in you, just like the guy playing the piano, will be like, oh, well, he's interested in me, that, then I don't have to be alone, blah, 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 blah. But it would have been a terrible decision for him and for me, like neither of us would have been happy, because it is, well, longevity is that you do have to fight for something. You can't, it's work, And so if you go with this idea that like it needs to be perfect at the beginning, and you over romanticize, not that the romantic side cannot be there, but if you over romanticize it because you are looking for somebody to fill that, and it's almost the castle building of, rescue me. Then when things go sour, it's really hard to recover from that, because all of those expectations become disappointments, and then you're like, what went wrong? Maybe I got it wrong. And then self-doubt creeps in or whatever, and you don't fight for the reality of the person, which is hopefully the person that you see and know and care for, and that you've chosen to be, to support as they've chosen to support you, and that there is a partnership in that relationship.
Absolutely.
Like it gets hard.
In your case, Piano Chad was just interested in your looks there. He wasn't, he didn't know you. He didn't know you.
He didn't know me.
He just was like, hey, that blonde over there at the school, I'm going to, hey, look at this song I wrote.
Yeah.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to Phil Collins. But
and he's like, Stephanie.
Yeah. Stephanie. Oh, I can see Stephanie in
too many syllables in the
name. that would be hilarious. But yeah, and it's like Deb and I weren't looking for somebody. It was so funny. Like we were fine being single at the time, and we actually, and that's the thing too, is you're finding your someone, and like you said, fighting for it. You're also fighting. You're fighting for the couple against yourselves. Like
that's a good way to say
it. It's like and that's one thing that Deb and I both really talked about, is how us is more important than the individuals involved. Like not from the standpoint of like desperation, but like there are times where we've gotten into some heated. I mean, we've got to some points early on in our relationship where it could have been over, but it was like we had to go through those moments to become stronger. And there were things like I both feel like a couple things. One, we had to go through a lot of kick your teeth in moments in life before we met, in order for us to be in a mindset where we're like, okay, this is what we want. But on the other side is when you're forming that bond, it really is like it's like a mental not scabbing, that's not a way to put it, but like you're bonding. And there's going to be pain with that, because you're going to learn, okay, I can't go do this, or she's, I got to do that. And there's that bonding that forms. And then you finally find that moment. And now it's like, we finish, it's stupid. We finish each other's sentences. We have the same, we laugh at the same terrible, terrible, offensive jokes. But like, it's that same thing. We fit each other. Now, granted, here's what's so funny is we also compliment each other too. Like she's the sports fan. And I'm not. I mean, I like professional wrestling, but that's not even, that's sports only in the standpoint of the athletics, as like the same as like Cirque du Soleil or ballet or something. Whereas she's Super Bowl. She's got to watch. She's watching hockey. She's watching this. What's funny about that though is like we'll be we're at a restaurant recently. We went to a steakhouse, and the manager came over to see how we were enjoying the meal, and then he starts trying to talk to me about football. And I'm just like, yeah, sports are great. And then Deb just goes, yeah, but if Mahomes was any kind of quarterback, he would actually do, he would have thrown that pitch on the first down. And I'm just like, whoa, like this guy, it was throwing him off because he was making that assumption that I'm the sports guy, and but here's what's so funny about that. She's big sports, but she is the most girliest girl. Like she's also like nail polish and cosmetics, and perhaps cosmetics such as the at the skincare line, perhaps. But also like she's really into flowers and all the girly stuff. But then you mentioned sports, and she's like, well, actually, the Cubs won the Cubs went down the tubes when they got rid of so and so, Schweitzer or whatever. And it's really cool when you find that person. Do you think there is a soulmate for everybody, or is it not that simple? Is it not that Hallmark Channel romance?
I mean, I think that we're all kind of just broken people looking to pick up the pieces. And I do think that there's a cohesion of personhood, like what you said, that the us becomes more important than the me.
Mm-hmm.
And that you do sacrifice some of your self-will to be kind of a unique us will. And that, I think, develops over time. Like,
yeah.
I think there are people that you recognize that you have an instant connection to, interest aligned, whatever, or there's just something about them that just touches you. I've seen it in friends too. So like something that something of my internal self recognizes in somebody else. We call it like soulmates, and I think we overemphasize it. I think it's something a little bit more simple and just, kind of down to personality, down to who you are. Something about somebody else like really resonates with you. And then if you find that person to be soon your spouse, then even better. Like if something about them resonates with you and that you can kind of connect, because like you said, it's a messy process for that cohesion to happen. Like you have to, work together at becoming, Mr. and Mrs. da 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 or whatever. And like that's going to take some work. And so hopefully you have some kind of natural inclination towards each other. If you loathe the other person, it's not going to work.
Yeah, if you resent the other person, that's what's huge. And that's why I feel like communication is so important. I think you'd agree. Because like if we don't communicate those issues, then we start to resent the other person. We start to resent and it could be something as small as not, putting water in your coffee cup, or, not replacing the toilet paper when you leave, that kind of stuff, or it could be just simple stuff like, leaving your underpants on the floor in the bedroom instead of putting them in the hamper. I mean, that never happens in my house at all. But like what I'm saying is like let me ask you this, because does it feel easier now though?
Yes.
I mean, not absent from problems, but like
no, but yes.
I feel the same way. Like I feel like going through that but fighting for the togetherness from both of us, because it took both of us a lot of it took a lot of patience, a lot of talking it out, arguing, but we got to a point now where we are the couple. And she says I'm stuck with her and she's stuck with me, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that a lot of people that say, because I hear people say like, oh, marriage is constantly a lot of people were portraying marriage or any like long-term relationships as like this constant like, oh, well, I'm in the doghouse, or she's doing this, or I'm doing that. And I'm thinking like, that doesn't sound like my relationship. Yeah. In fact, my relationship, like nobody's in the doghouse. We talk it out, we solve the issue, and, both of us end up apologizing. One of us is usually me, but like one of us is usually the one that, kind of brings it back, or the other person kind of, one person kind of apologizes, and then I'm like, okay, but I'm not in the doghouse, or she's not in the doghouse. I don't think relationships are supposed to be constant misery, and I think sometimes the people that get into those relationships, I think maybe they didn't do the work in the first place. I don't know.
Both people have to, like, one person shouldn't be subservient in themselves to the other person. Like it does need to be like, if it's both people setting themselves aside for the us. And one of the things that we do is we debate over stupid stuff. Like we don't really even get in arguments. Like sometimes when we're remodeling the house, like we've like fixed up, like not its paint colors, but it's like tile or, stupid stuff, like things that don't matter. but they matter to us because it's an expense. So we're trying to we both have different visions, and we need to get on the same page in order to pay the same money or whatever, decide that's what we're going to pay, because once you put the tile in, you're not taking it back out. Right. So you don't want something that looks hideous to one and lovely to another. But it's saying that it's still a balance. But one of the things we always do is we always just say, I love you. Even it's not you're wrong or you're wrong. It's not I'm wrong or you're wrong. It's just
not about that.
Opinion. It's we have high feelings, and still end it with I love you, because because that didn't change. Whatever is going on here, that didn't change. That's still true. So just so you know, I still believe this, but I love you, and we'll talk about it later. We're not going to decide this right now. We're not going to decide what tile.
Exactly. And love doesn't mean, in that kind of relationship, it doesn't mean you're not going to have these arguments. I mean, we got in one, this was a couple of years ago, but we got in this huge argument at 1 a.m. over the temperature, over the whether or not it's and I'm not even going to get into it, but got to the point where I was so pissed, and I was so sure I was right, that I'm over here on my computer, just in my boxers, with loose boxers, sitting here on Google trying to prove her wrong. And sure enough, I proved myself wrong. But it was one of those things where we were just so sure, but then we laughed about it. It was funny because we're both it was such a silly thing for us to get into. We've had some serious arguments about different things, and but what's funny is that's it always comes back to, like you said, I love you, and making sure I'm here for you, and the us is more important, and this is these are the things. So, and I'm sure there's times where she's bit her tongue, there's things where I bit my tongue, and we both have caught each other. I know we do. I know she does this with me. She'll damn it, Aaron. She'll come into the bathroom or something. She'll, damn it, Aaron. I left my razor out or something. And then, or I'll go to the sink. I'm like, FFS, Deb, for freak's sake, Deb, something like that. But we get over it. And I think it's important, but I think for people out there looking for, and Benjamin, our advertising partner, brings up a good point. Both parties have to contribute in order for the relationship to work. Yeah. Like you said, Steph, absolutely. They both have to contribute. There's no chief and then subservient. Right. It has, you both have got to be there for each other. You're both each other's servant in a way, if that makes any
right. And I want to clarify too. Oftentimes I feel like a lot of people give up themselves in that relationship.
Yes.
And it's not that the other person was asking for it. They just do, because they're trying to make it work, because they're afraid it won't work.
Right. That's different.
That fear drives it a little bit.
Yeah, that's almost as deadly as being an asshole to your partner, is right. Being too subservient. You've got to be able to, when we say fight for the us, we mean also yourself too. That's the huge, that was such a huge thing with us, is making sure we kept our identity with each other. Yeah. Because when your identity becomes, I am so-and-so's spouse, you lose your identity. If that's your identity, you're not you're Stephanie, who is married to your husband. You're not your husband's wife, or and I'm not my wife's husband. It's that's just part of who we are. I think that's important. And I think what a lot of times happens is, it's almost worse than the the angry arguments. It's when one person is loses themselves in that relationship, and then that actually sets them up for long-term disaster, because then because
they get disappointed. Eventually it's going to come back where they're going to see that they've lost themselves.
Yep.
And then they're going to get to that point and realize, where did I go?
Yeah.
And especially if the other person not realizing it, in other words, if you never decide to do anything and the other person's always decide, maybe they don't want to, but they do. So they default to always making the decisions. And then there's the moment when you want to make a decision, and that there's no establishment that you will make the decision. And so it becomes like a struggle, because then now you have to fight for what you want. And then if it doesn't go your way, you get that much more dissatisfied, because you've never put your voice in the process to begin with. And I'm saying this because I just want to be clear. I could see how I could be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was in other relationships. And those are things that you kind of learn about yourself. And in some ways, I don't really care. I tend to be a little bit more go with the flow. And so because I am more go with the flow, if there's somebody with a stronger personality, they could always make the decision because I don't really care, you know, but I have to find a way to care, even in the small ways, just so I don't become dissatisfied with not having a choice.
Absolutely. And for folks out there that are looking for their special someone, keep in mind a couple things. One, I said this to a lot of my friends when they had breakups. I say, before you start dating other people, date yourself. You know, you got to find love within yourself. You've got to feel good about yourself to the point where you'd be okay single the rest of your life. Not necessarily that you want that, but that you would be okay being single the rest of your life. Be happy with who you are, so that you can then find that in others. And those were two mistakes I made when I was young as an idiot. And if I hadn't learned from those mistakes, Deb and I would not have clicked. Is one, I had to let other people be who they are. You know, I had to let, instead of trying to change, like, all right, she's going to change. She's going to become a better version of herself when she's with me. No. Who am I? Am I what's special with me? The other side is I needed to feel secure in myself, so that I wasn't desperate to not be alone, or that I wasn't like, oh no, if they leave me, then that means I'm this terrible person. And you have to be comfortable with who you are, and you have to love the person for who they are, not who you think they might become. And I think that's a common mistake. I see a lot of couples that don't last, is that they take one of those attitudes.
Right. And if you're always, and this is another side, if you're always looking for the answers in somebody else, or if you're looking for the idea of a soulmate and you're not recognizing that person, you could be looking for a long time. And I think a lot of people find themselves like maybe years down a career path or whatever, and it's sometimes it's harder to come back, and because you have autonomy in who you are, right? Like you are just who you are, and then you're now inviting somebody in who's so much like them, and it does seem like that could be even more of a struggle to like give up the self that you've developed. Like for me, I was really, we were in college, so we've kind of grown together. And in some ways, I think that helped us because it made the process of figuring out the us early. I mean, we still didn't know in the beginning. We still had I think what you said was great, because it's like, it's a growing pains of the us. And that is like really, hard. No matter what, like, so I'm not saying like one time is easier than the other, but if you do go in the path of like, you've known yourself for a really long time and you're trying to invite somebody in, I can see how that would even feel more like an earthquake in your life, like more shaking up of the patterns of your life to invite somebody new into it.
Yes. Big shake
You
up.
just have to give yourself grace in that.
I think that's important. Giving yourself grace is so important with everything, I think, but definitely giving each other and yourselves grace with the whole thing. Excellent stuff. I mean, we could do 2 hours on just relationship advice, but I do think that it's important we stress that although we are the doctors feel good, we aren't professionals. We don't actually have MDs or PhDs yet, but you never know. But we do want to try to help you with our own takes and our own helpful attempts at advice. And that's why one of my favorite segments of Positive Minds is where we take your DMs and emails and offer our advice, unprofessional, but with a heart, with a kindness to it. And so it's time for us to check in with your DMs and emails that you send in. You can email myself or Positively Chris, or DM us on X. You know how to find us. Send us in. We'd love to help you out. And we've actually got 4, so we'll let you choose from them. But it's time for your DMs and emails.
DMs, email. What? Send us
You're wanted.
Okay!
In the details.
Yeah!
Save all the seeds.
Save them whales, son!
We'll read your DMs and emails.
DMs and emails!
We are not professionals.
What?
Just want to offer our advice.
Okay!
Want to be kind and be nice.
Where's Chris?
Positive Chris isn't here.
What?
But Steph is here, so don't you fear.
Okay!
She has style, she has grace.
Yeah!
She'll put a smile on your face.
Let's get this mother crawled!
DMs and emails.
Yeah!
DMs and emails.
What?
DMs and emails.
Okay!
DMs and emails.
Steph with damn details!
DMs
Mind runner!
emails.
DMs and emails! What?
That's so funny.
I was no way influenced by the Super Bowl halftime show last night. Not at all. What? So, and just a little quick thing. I had half of that video already done, and then Deb pulls me in to watch the halftime show. It was going to be much more techno.
Yeah.
And then I got CRUNK. I walked away from the halftime show CRUNK, and I had to add Lil Jon in the mix there. So
That's so good. That's so funny.
right, so we've got 4, and again, the names have been changed to protect the guilty on Positive Mind. We've got 4 DMs and emails to go through. We've got Naybor, autism or brat, flirting at work, and social media support. So I'm going to go ahead and let our guest tag team partner here. Which one of these 4 would you like us to jump on first?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know what? Let's go email 3. It feels kind of keen in the place of Valentine's. I'm curious about that.
Very good, very good. All right, so I'll read this, and then we'll offer our advice, our unprofessional advice. Hey, Mind and Chris and Steph, of course. They meant to put Steph. They just didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know. They don't know me. That's okay.
Hope you're both doing great. I left that in, by the way.
Mhm.
Hope you are both doing great. I'm facing a bit of a dilemma. There's this coworker I've been interested in asking out, but I am hesitant because another colleague got fired for flirting with her. I think she might be interested too, but I'm worried about crossing any lines and getting in trouble for harassment. Another coworker told me she once got a guy fired for flirting with her. You said that twice, but any advice on how I can approach this situation respectfully? Thanks a bunch, Sanjay. All right, so Sanjay, what do we think for Sanjay there?
Well, it's curious because we don't know like what happened in the other situation where there's a little bit of a gossip train around, like got this other person fired. What was that person's work history? So like I would say, yeah, I mean, you don't want to cross any lines for sure. Like that would be key. Be respectful. And maybe if it's outside of work, like if there's an outside event, like do that instead versus like at work where, you're.
You don't want to bring a piano to work. You don't want to bring, a piano and start playing at work. You know what I mean? You don't want to start doing that. You don't want to, you don't want it to have it. You don't want it to all of a sudden, you don't want it to all of a sudden be one of those things where, you've got a good segment going on and things lock up. No, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, I think sometimes too, there's, you've got to be careful when you're trying to flirt with people at work. But here's the rub is that when you're working, you are constantly there. It's like where you spend most of your time. So of course you're naturally going to form some bonds and you're going to make some friendships and whatnot. But I do think though, on the flip side, it's important for you to try to get away from it, separate the person from the job. And I think that's, again, you want kind of like the model of getting to know somebody for who they are. You only see the work side of them. You don't know, maybe they're a completely different person outside of work. So I think the first step is to offer to casually hang out, maybe at a public location. You got to be careful though. But the thing is, you don't know two things. One, you don't know the whole story about that person. They may have been skeezy. Two, this other person that's telling you this stuff, I mean, they're gossip, so they might have ulterior motives for trying to badmouth this person. So we're Steph's going to jump right back in. She just we're moving right along, but let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. I'm going to pick the next one, or let us know in the chat if there's one that you would like us to check out here and see. Up there we go.
Sorry
All
about
good.
that.
No, that was such great advice that we actually it overloaded our. So I actually feel like we got hacked by Match.com
Oh
because
man.
we were giving such good advice. But you were starting to say right there though, like
Yes, I
and
don't know where
I
we
was
left
talking
off.
about what's that?
I didn't know where we left off. It was
Well,
Sanjay, right?
I was talking about with Sanjay, like the important point of getting to know this person outside of work.
Yeah.
And you also brought up another point about, this is gossip. You don't know the whole story. I mentioned this guy probably this other guy that got fired probably brought a piano to work and said he wrote a song for her and then had to get kicked out, so,
Exactly.
there's all kinds of shenanigans of everyone. But it is tough because on one hand, if things go sour, if she doesn't feel the same way, there's always that awkwardness when you're working with somebody. That's why you got to get to know them as a friend first, because that way that alleviates the awkwardness. But of course, you don't want to get friend zoned either, because that's painful. But you want to pull them away from the job so that you can get to know them outside. And also, it's understandable because you do form those bonds with people that you work with. You do, and so it's tough to avoid those office romances when you're working with somebody, or you're in the foxholes. You're at Pizza Hut together, or maybe you and her did a rough shift at Starbucks together, and it's like you're battle soldiers, and now you're like, oh, I've got your back, I've got yours, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we went. We're going to do the next email. Did you have any final advice for Sanjay?
Good luck, friend. I mean, girls sometimes are unintentionally flirty. Let's be real. Like sometimes we're just nice, and so I think mine runner what you said. Be a friend. Friend first. I think, and don't put all your hopes on one person. You never know. There might be somebody else that you haven't met yet, or that you have, and maybe they like you. So,
are you saying all those waitresses weren't into me? They were just flirty?
I mean,
is that what you're saying?
I'm saying they're nice. They're very kind people, and they
very
might
good.
Have
Nice, not kind, but nice. There you go. We've talked about that before.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's go back. Let's see. I'm going to pick the next one. Let's go to. All right, here we go. Hey, Chris and mine. I hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out with a bit of a social media dilemma, which to me is kind of silly because, not silly, but social media, just maybe sometimes unplug, touch some grass. I've made some great new friends online whom I really care about. I go out of my way to support them by reposting and liking their posts, sometimes even before they ask. When I ask for their support in return, I hardly get any engagement. Maybe just one friend likes my post, but no one ever reposts it. Am I reading too much into this, or are they not as good friends as I thought? Any advice on how to handle this would be greatly appreciated, Camille.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I feel, Camille, like that. It's difficult because there's so much vying for our attention on social media. And I think it's really kind what you're doing, and you shouldn't stop doing what if you're sincere and kind, but hopefully, and just like in relationships, you don't want to always put attachments with people. I think sometimes people feel awkward when asked, they would like to do it organically. And then, the minute they get asked, it's like, then they feel guilt, and it kind of, it starts the icky feelings. And I think some point, like, you want to build authentic friendships, but it shouldn't be about if they repost you or not. It should be just because you're cool people, you're talking, you're interested in what they're doing, they're interested in what you're doing, and there's kind of a balance or a fairness to that because you both like each other. And
friendship shouldn't be transactional. You're absolutely right. It's like, it's kind of like you you want to make genuine friendships for the friendship's sake, not as, oh, hey,
Mhm.
this is a group of people I'm going to make friends with so that I can market my, my slap chop or my ShamWow or whatever,
Right.
or maybe like self promotion, like, hey, my new album's dropping, by the way, so you
Mhm.
guys go out there. But I also think you're right too. It's like, I almost want to say, if you're promoting, are you promoting those people? I almost want to flip it back on Camille a little bit too, and ask yourself, are
Mm.
you promoting these people because you genuinely want to help them? You really
Mhm.
are excited about what they're doing, or are you promoting them just so that you can keep a friendship that's not necessarily?
Mhm.
I don't think that's authentic either. That goes back to our relationship thing. It's like, are
Mhm.
you filling a need by
Right.
doing all this promotion and then expecting them to do the same? That
Right.
itself is almost a quid pro quo mindset that isn't healthy.
Yeah, and I think there's also the side to it that not everybody shows and receives love in the same way.
Yeah.
And so, like, somebody might not think of that as a way of kindness, like, maybe they maybe that's just not what they do. Maybe them liking your post or engaging that way is a way to be like, "Hey, I'm thinking of you." I mean, we just don't know how people show love
Yeah.
or how they receive love, and it can be very different. And also with social media, people are on for so many different reasons.
Hmm.
Like, you have your niche that, we like hang out and connect in like writing spaces, but you have a whole niche with your wrestling and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And you have like great solid connections. And they don't sometimes translate to one
Yeah.
or the other. And like, I'm like, yay, go Mind Runner, because it's like fun to see that in my feed because I see your stuff. And it's kind of a privilege to me, but I don't always know who the people are. I'm just
Yeah.
like, yay, it's your birthday, like, well, when it was Deb's birthday, I'm like,
Yeah.
totally yay, because I
Production.
know I know of Deb, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm still
Hmm.
like cheering you on, but I might not know the people.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. In fact, even in real life, I don't even say real life because I think online is part of real
Right.
life. But even outside of social media, it can be tough. You don't want to assume the other person you're interacting with thinks the same way as you, because
Hmm.
no one thinks exactly the same way as you or feels or has the same experience. But social media obscures a lot of that too, because and
Mm.
it's all in, a lot of times it can be all innocent because you might misread something, or so much
Yeah,
gets lost in
easily.
translation, lost in text, and you don't know what's going on. And you're absolutely right that if Camille, it sounds like she sees that retweeting or reposting, or
Yes.
maybe it's whatever, if it's Twitter or whatever, that's her showing her friendship, like, I'm a friend and
Hmm.
that's what a friend will do, but they're not doing it for me. Well, they may not see that as a sign of friendship. They may instead, friendship is, hey, joking around, or hey,
Hmm.
hey, what's going on? Like, or if like something really serious happened, they would be there for it. Like, hey, I'll be there for you if something happened. But I
Right.
think it's dangerous. It's dangerous on social media to make a lot of those kind of assumptions where you got to take a lot with a lot of salt, a lot of grains of salt with things. I
Yeah, I
think
think so.
I've had situations on both sides where I've misunderstood what somebody meant by something online, and then I found out it was a completely different thing. And then I've
Mhm.
had situations where I had someone mad at me because they thought I was purposely leaving them out of certain
Oh.
things, and it
Mm.
turned out that I wasn't. It was just
Mhm.
like I can only list 4 names, and she was number 5, and it was one of
Mhm.
those kind of things. But yeah, um, I hope nobody mutes me for my one way or the other, because like I have my mental health stuff, and then I
Yeah.
have my wrestling stuff. So sometimes I wonder if the wrestling friends go, "Oh, here he goes about mental health again. What's a pit? Oh, what Crocs? What are Crocs? Who's Zeke? That kind of stuff." And then the other side, it's like my mental health folks, and then all of a sudden I'm like, we need to be kind to ourselves and find our inner balance. But on
Right.
Thursday night, they're going to be in a steel cage, and it's like it's like,
Those
what?
2 fighting in the cage, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you're in the cage. You do your tai chi in the
yeah, right.
cage, and that.
Oh,
so
man.
so yeah, that's. I mean, it's you got to be yourself. That's me, though. So
Right.
like, take it or leave it. Hopefully, you don't mute me for all that kind of stuff, but But that's who I am, and that's kind of goes back to Camille. Is your friends don't have to fully understand everything that you're doing. You can be supportive without sitting there like retweeting your stuff, and that even goes for like politics. I have friends that are extreme one way, extreme the other way. Most of my friends are kind of in the middle, but I might disagree with somebody's post about politics, but that doesn't mean that I'm shunning them and never want to speak to them again. It's just I feel differently, but hey, good for you, that kind of thing. So there you go, Camille.
Yeah, and I would just want to add one thing to Camille. Just put good content out there. It'll hit the right people when, it doesn't have to be the people you already know. You actually kind of want to reach out and meet new people with your content, because the other side of it is retweeting or quoting kind of only goes to the same people all of the time. So it doesn't really grow your account, from what I understand. Not really. Like, it can kind of get into like a little bubble. And the other thing is every person has all of their followers to think about, all of their other friends to think about. And maybe they know maybe they see something and they're like, oh, I'm thinking of this right now, and I know this relates to a big group of my followers, kind of like Mindrunner, what you're saying. And in that, like, there's a thought process behind maybe what we share and what we post, because it does go into our profile. So like, we're thinking about what's gonna hit the reach of the people I've connected to, what's gonna maybe help connect with new people, and like, everybody's building content. And I think your content, I'm sure it's great, and I think it will reach new people and you'll make new friends. And those that see your content in your friend group that want to share it, they will. And even if they don't, like, maybe there's new, look at the ways they do interact with you, and I think you appreciate them for that.
I think that right there, it's the nail on the head. I almost feel like that's a good our fortune cookie advice for the week too, because I think a lot of times we overlook the things that they're already doing for us, but for Camille too, like, kind of piggybacking what you said, don't change who you are to hopefully get your friend. Just keep doing you. Tweak it, of course, because if you're some kind of if it's entertaining or something, you want it to appeal to your audience. You don't want to just be like, hey, here's me in my boxers picking my nose again. You don't want it like that. But like, you don't like. I'm big proponent on audience versus algorithm. Like, I know we've had this discussion before where I'm not going to worry about how many times I retweeted or how many. I mean, I kind of pay attention to like win, just so I could get as many eyes as possible. But I'm not about like, hey, I want to go viral, or I want to get the most likes, or I want to get the engagement. I'm more like, hey, I want to produce content that I think people would like, and people like me would like. And if it happens to be Lil Jon singing about DMs and emails, so be it, But that I feel like, don't compromise, what brings you joy, but you might want to look at why it's so important to you that this group of people, or a certain person, like, and maybe just talk to them and bring it up. You might be surprised at what they say, but don't guilt trip them into doing that. That's the other thing. Don't guilt trip.
They don't know you, so not really. They don't. And I think it's a shared relationship. It's a shared friendship, and don't put too much pressure on people that are just, you don't know their day to day. Like, they could have other internal struggles, and that's one thing that they maybe cannot handle in their life. And because you don't know what's going on in their life, it just might be one. And then you don't want to be muted by that person because they're like, I can't deal with this. And that would be my fear, is that if somebody feels like that guilt of like, they're just going to be like, I can't handle that. That would be what I'd worry about.
I think you do want to try to assume positive intent, or assume because you don't know, they didn't retweet or repost your thing. They could be in the ambulance with their loved one heading to the ER. And then are they going to stop and go, you know what? I got to go back and repost Mindrunner's, thing. It's coming out today. No, that's you've got it. You don't know what's going on in their lives, and it may not even be as serious. It may just be like they didn't get to it. So let's really quickly, this has been we're actually over time, but that's cool. But I think this builds into our final segment. Our fortune cookie takeaway, I think we really it's so funny too, because every episode I have a completely different takeaway. I'm going to stop putting it because I'm going to let the show determine it. But what would you say is your fortune cookie takeaway based on our show today?
Oh, I mean, and there's so many, but I think you're right. Like, be grateful for the friends you have and what they do in your life. Like, honestly, more gratitude towards each other and more appreciation for what the relationships we have, all of the relationships at every level. If you're going to have what do they call it? The Galentine's Day, appreciate your Galentines, appreciate your Valentines, appreciate all.
And your Galentines.
Yeah. Galentines. Galentines and Galentines. Oh, nobody does Galentine show. Like,
I know, right?
Why are we guys getting together?
You're bro-in-time, man. You're my bro-in-time.
There you go. That's better.
I'm just gonna second that because it's kind of the same thing. It don't, be happy. You gotta be happy with yourself, but you gotta also celebrate. We talk about celebrating your victories, but be grateful for the things that others do for you. They obviously going back to Camille. Obviously these people became your friends for a reason, for something. There's something they've been doing, demonstrating some sort of friendship. So they're probably already your friends. You just, just what's important to you. And I think I don't want to say it's not a big deal because you took the time to let us know, but just, I don't think they're purposely they're not doing it because they don't like you. I think it's not as serious as that. I think you're perceiving it a little bit too much. It may just be be you. Just enjoy the content that and go do what brings you joy.
Yeah. And it'll come back,
Absolutely. And don't talk too much about wrestling with your non-wrestling friends.
I actually think the costumes are really great when I see them in my feed. I'm probably like, that's what I get out of it, but hey.
All good. Well, Steph, thank you so much for being Chris today. It was awesome. And I knew you would be, your family. And I appreciate you as a friend. Let me just reiterate that, I appreciate. And you actually, it's funny that you go out of your way a lot of times to help people. Like you are one of the most supportive people out there. I see you retweet, like you said, sometimes you'll like or repost something that you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but like I'm supporting you anyways, there, brother. Yeah, go steal cage.
No, I did. If I see it and I try to, if I retweet or quote it, it's because I took time with it. So I'm pretty intentional about it. So I don't just like. I appreciate I see it. I might still not understand it, but
absolutely. Well, on behalf of Stephanie from King Ari Press, by the way, check out King Ari Press if you want to get yourself published, get out there, but you don't want to go through all the nightmare of a crazy publishing company. Go check out King Ari Press and the Writer's Block every Tuesday at noon on X. It's an awesome space where we all us writers, all us scribes, we go we chat about some really cool stuff. So if you can't make it, or if you can't speak, you can always listen in. You can always get the replay. But awesome. Now, coming up right now, it's probably already dropped live, but is the episode 46 of Mental Health Mondays has dropped. It's live. Please go check it out. It's on X and the Tubes of You. And it's I'm revisiting one of my friends from an earlier episode. She is from the Nation's Corner. She goes by Deb Housen, and she's going to talk about the importance of finding your tribe online, as well as curating your social media feed so that you're not bombarded with negativity. So, and that's what we're all about. So, on behalf of Stephanie, I'm Mind Runner. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. What?